Hello, welcome to Flower Joos. My name's John McDonald, and today we're going to make an arrangement with some unusual materials. Now, my first unusual material is this dried stems. Now, these are actually, they're kind of called bonsai. I don't know whether they're like dead bonsai plants that have basically been bleached or painted, but you can buy them in a bag. You get all sorts of shapes, and they're just interesting. They actually remind me of like coral, which I think is quite interesting. Lots of texture, lots of interest. So that's our first interesting material. Our second interesting material is this beautiful leucadendron. So leucadendron is a material that comes from South Africa. Basically, it's a shrub. You get it in lots of different colours. You get like a nice green, kind of autumn colours into reds. That's the norm. But this has actually been dyed, so it's taken on a different colour. And I think it's really, really interesting. So what I wanted to do is make an arrangement using unusual materials, but combining them to make something that is just different. Generally, we always use the same kind of materials. We always kind of play a little bit safe. But sometimes to use something a little bit different can be a bit fun. I've also got a little bit of this house plant. So this is basically a tradescantia, and I think it works quite nicely color-wise as well. So we might use that. We might also use, but I'm not entirely sure, this carnation. So carnations get a bit of a bad rap, but the growers have done an amazing job over the last 10, 15 years to come up with some beautiful new varieties, some beautiful new colours. They've done it in a lot of different ways. And this one is one of those kind of antique-y sort of ones. I'm not sure. We might use it, we might not. Let's see how we're going to do this. So the vase I want to use is this silver one. It's just kind of, again, not necessarily the type of container I would normally use. And the first thing we're going to do is fill it with water. So whenever you make flowers, you need to have a water source. And we're going to fill that right up. And now we can have a look at our stems. So I'm looking for what would create a little bit of a structure. So this is going to create a structure that we could essentially plant our materials through. I like this one because it kind of hangs. So what I'm thinking is that we can maybe use this a little bit like Lego and hang it so that it comes over the edge. I think that looks great. But in a way, we're a little bit flat, so we're going to give it a little bit of height with this one. So in a way, this can be a little bit of a sculpture. So when you're thinking of flowers, you tend to think of garden mixes, garden styles, but they don't have to be. If your home is really, really modern, then it's just a case of looking out for structural materials, interest with texture, and bringing them together in a different way. So that's our base. We've got our structure with our roots or our bonsai, and then we've got our main leucadendron. So I'm just going to give it a little cut. That'll help it take up water, and we can look at how to place this. So as I say, this is giving us a little bit of a structure that's going to help hold the flowers. And I do want us to be able to look into this because it is really quite exciting. I'm not a big fan of dyed materials, but I think if you get the right ones, then it can be quite interesting. So we're looking into this flower. We're semi-looking into this one. This one's giving us height. I've kept it so that we've really got our line here of interest, and then this more to one side. And we can look at bringing in a carnation. I think sometimes people think carnations are a little bit boring, but depends how you use them. If you use them more in a massed way, then you can really make it a little bit more interesting. So we're going to, rather than seeing the single flower, we're just going to bring that in like a little mass, and bring one to the back as well. So what we've got is we've basically got an area of colour. Then we've got our lines, we've got our secondary mass here of texture. And then we can just look at, do we want to use this? I think so. I think this is kind of interesting. Now, with all things, everything comes down to your personal preference. So do you like things to be minimal? Do you like things to be quite full? The choice ultimately is down to you. So you have to stop when you've got to the point where you're happy and it suits you. The great thing about these is we're putting this into water. These will probably start to root. Depends where you're going to put this as well. You might want it to just face one way, or you might be quite happy with it being all round. But that is all I'm going to do. So we've used some interesting materials. We've used them basically using the same rules that we do for any sort of arrangement. So we've created line, we've created focal point, we've created a contrast of texture, and we've really emphasized color as well. And we've got this unusual container with quite a strong color that we wouldn't normally use. But I think in a modern setting, this would be quite funky. It would definitely catch the eye. And you really want, when you make something with flowers, is for it to be noticed. So if it just blends into the background, has it really done its job? No, you want it to catch people's eye and make them talk. And even if they hate it, then at least they've noticed it and they're talking about it. So I hope you've enjoyed this design. I hope you've realized just how easy it can be to create something for yourself. So maybe you want to just, you've got a few flowers and you don't know what to do with them. Instead of just plonking them in a vase, then have a little look and just get creative and enjoy the process. So thank you for watching. If you want a little bit more inspiration, then have a look in our description for this video and we'll post a link to another design that you might enjoy. So until next time, take care and we hope to see you soon.